I've previously reviewed the Dreo Baristamaker, which is a very impressive electric milk frother. Today, we're checking out the new Baristamaker Air version. It's about half the price and has a more compact size. Let's see how it performs. First, let's look at the design of both machines. The Air is clearly much smaller than the original version, so it's more friendly for users with limited countertop space. The control panel is also simplified, with all the options clearly listed. The original Baristamaker offers more settings, which we'll look at in detail later. Besides the size, the biggest difference is the milk pitcher. The original has a detachable, standalone stainless steel milk pitcher that can be completely separated. If you want to make lattes and do latte art, you can froth the milk and pour it directly. Of course, while the original pitcher supports latte art, I know many people, including myself, prefer to use their own favorite milk jug. The Air has an integrated design, similar to many other milk frothers, where the main unit sits on top of a base. If you want to do latte art, you'll need to transfer the milk froth to your own pitcher. About the milk jug, the original is fully stainless steel with clear measurement marks inside. The Air also has measurement marks, but they are not as clear, and it seems to have an extra coating layer. The original's outer shell is mostly stainless steel, giving it a more solid look. But in reality, both versions look nice and don't feel cheap at all, even though they are not expensive. About capacity, the original's milk pitcher looks obviously larger. I poured water up to the lowest latte art line and then poured that into the Air's container. I was a bit surprised to see that the recommended milk amount for latte art is actually quite similar. So if you want to do latte art, both will give you enough milk foam. However, the capacity for the stir function is quite different. The original's max stir line almost fills the entire Air milk pitcher, so the Air holds less milk for stirring. The same goes for the foam function. When you pour the max foam amount from the original into the Air, it reaches the Air's max stir water level. Both versions come with 2 frothing tips, and the designs are mostly similar. The impeller tip on the Air has an improved bottom, which helps prevent heated milk from burning and sticking to the base. The stirring tip is basically the same on both. You can store both tips magnetically on the tip holder, which is very convenient. Now, let's talk about the interface and settings, which is another big difference between these two machines. The Air has a much simpler control panel. It's divided into 3 sections: frothing modes for dairy and non-dairy, and a stir mode at the bottom. Both dairy and non-dairy have latte art, thicker froth, and cold froth options. For stirring, you can choose between hot or cold. Just switch modes using the menu button below. I think this layout is more user-friendly and easy to use. If it were a touchscreen, it would be even better, because if you pass your option, you have to cycle through all the options again. But once you've made your choice, just press start and you're good to go. The original Baristamaker gives you more control. You can select the type of milk, from whole milk to specific plant-based options, and also set different foam types and adjust the density. On the right side, the stirring mode lets you set both speed and temperature. There's also a display in the middle, which shows you which frothing tip to use and counts down the time after you press start. Overall, the original feels more professional, but it takes a little time to learn all the settings at first. The Air is more straightforward and easier for beginners to get started with. I tested the frothing speed, temperature, and texture of both versions using the latte mode. I added the same amount of milk to each and started them at the same time. Both machines work in a similar way. They start with a slower spin to heat the milk, then speed up once the milk reaches a certain temperature. The Air version switches to high speed a bit faster than the original. The main frothing comes from the frothing disc at the bottom. The fan blades on top don't actually spin. That's normal. It helps break up any large bubbles on the surface, which gives you a smoother microfoam. The Air finished heating and frothing in 3 minutes and 18 seconds. I checked the temperature right away, and it was about 68 degrees Celsius. The original finished soon after, with a slightly lower temperature of around 62 degrees. The milk foam from the Air is very fine and glossy, with good flow when you swirl it. After transferring it to a milk pitcher and giving it a tap, the texture looked even better. The original also produced beautiful foam. The Air costs about half as much, but it can make microfoam for latte art just as well as the original when using whole milk. While they were frothing, I pulled an espresso shot. I used the milk foam from the Air to pull a latte art to show you how it performs. The foam was really nice, smooth, dense, and easy to pour patterns. For a machine under $60, the results are honestly impressive. The texture and thickness are just right, and you get this quality with a single button press. The temperature is spot on, and the milk tastes sweet and rich. For cleaning, I checked the bottom of both jugs and found no milk stuck from heating. The original's pitcher is all stainless steel, so you can rinse it without worry. The Air is attached to the main unit, but because of its angle, water doesn't easily get into the base. I usually just rinse it without paying much attention. And as long as you don't flip it over, the bottom stays dry. Both machines let you remove the frothing tip for cleaning, which helps you get everything clean. The original is the same. Overall, cleaning is easy for both versions. Just wipe them dry with a cloth after washing, and you're ready to use them again. With the original, just make sure the bottom is dry before the next use to avoid marks on the heating plate. Besides frothing milk for latte art, let me show you how I use the Dreo Baristamaker Air to make Dalgona coffee, also known as whipped coffee. I still use the frothing tip for this. Add 2 tablespoons of instant coffee, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 3 to 4 tablespoons of water. I select the dairy cold froth mode for this recipe. Prepare a glass with ice and milk. After frothing, the whipped coffee comes out thick and creamy. Just pour it over the milk and ice. You don't have to whisk by hand hundreds of times, you just need to press a button and it's ready. The stir mode is also very handy. For example, to make hot chocolate, just add cocoa powder and water or milk, then choose hot or cold stir to mix everything well. If you like, you can also use the cold stir mode to make a milk foam topping. I really enjoy using the Baristamaker to mix all kinds of drinks. It makes the process much easier. To wrap up, I really recommend the Dreo Baristamaker Air version. It offers great value for the price. Of course, the original version gives you a bigger capacity and a removable milk jug, which makes cleaning even easier. From my tests, there's not much difference when using whole milk, but if you use plant-based milk, the original does better. That's because different brands of milk can behave differently, and having more options is always helpful. For less than $60, even if you don't have a steam wand, you can still make delicious milk-based drinks. It's perfect for pairing with a manual espresso maker or an espresso machine. Which one would you choose? If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching.